Let's see if we can get some more lighting in here. Welcome everyone to Dorsey's Resource. Thank you guys for joining. I'm back. But first, as usual, before we get started, I'd like to give a disclaimer. This video is going to be for educational, informational, and entertainment purposes only. Please understand everyone's individual circumstance or situation may be different. It's up to every individual competent person to please do his or her own homework and research regarding the matter being discussed. This information is not to be construed as legal advice. In the event you feel you need to seek a competent professional, it is encouraged that you do so at one's own leisure. Dorsey's Resource is not liable or responsible for any misuse of this information. With that being said, these are simply my opinions on the topic being discussed. Now, the topic is going to be related to the silver bull market. I wanted to talk about. I wanted to come before you guys earlier today. However, I might do a follow-up video not too long, which is not in my usual pattern of things, but I want to at least try to hurry up and give you guys information and talk about silver. And this is also open forum Q&A, so feel free, the few of you all who are watching, those who join, welcome to jump in and ask any questions. This is the best time to reach me. So I have a little bit of notes with me. I don't have all my notes, so I may have to do a follow-up movie. A follow-up video. I said movie, typos, forgive me. But silver, the prices have been rising lately. I did give a disclaimer, so this is not financial advice. Just to give the warning out there, in case you guys are not aware, the price has been volatile lately. It's been really shooting up there. So I want to talk about that and maybe transition into some other stuff. Let me acknowledge you guys in the chat. We have so far Victor Colin. Thank you for joining. Appreciate you for joining. So silver is, I wanted to talk about, I've got some questions for some family members that know me privately, some friends in the past. One in particular, I haven't really talked about that much. So there's some other things. There's like a whole education behind for those who are getting into stacking or collecting physical silver. There's things, of course, obviously those that are in the know a lot of times won't show their face when they do YouTube channels, and I understand the reason. I am aware that for security purposes and other reasons, but if you're getting into precious metals for the first time, silver is like the poor man's gold. Just like copper is going to be the new silver one day when metals shoots up entirely. I forget how that saying goes, when the big waves raise low tides or something to that effect. It's going to happen. And what we're in the midst of, this is a very volatile bull market. I've been studying the market lately. Well, I've been looking at the market rate prices, and it's been shooting up. Ever since I noticed it passed, it hovered around 19 for a minute. And a lot of people were saying that they wondered if it's going to dip down. I said a few days ago to some other silver channels that I subscribe to, guys that go over precious metals, and I've watched videos in the past, but I never really subscribed. Just until recently have I just subscribed to a lot of silver channels, something I like watching. As you jump from different hobbies to another, I was watching a lot of other videos just on a side note, like hunting videos in Africa, different animals of that sort. And then lately I've been watching a lot of videos pertaining to precious metals and the market, which I was aware of. I had stopped at one time and I had got behind, and I noticed as of recently the market has been on a steady climb. It's been on an upward trend. So I'm not even looking at a chart, but I can just tell you, just from checking coinflation several times a day. I'll hit refresh the screen. I've checked Kitco, JM Bullion site, and seeing like the charts go across. And I think I haven't really seen it like this. I didn't pay attention as much when silver did hit $49 an ounce. I think they said back around 2011. I do kind of remember that, because I used to go to the coin shows at one time too, believe it or not, as well. Get this. So if you're getting into precious metals, silver, for the first time, what I highly suggest is learn as much information as you can. If you're a beginner, because the dollar is losing its purchasing power. It's, you know, depreciating in value. And when you go to the grocery store and you purchase items, and especially if it's food, even bulk items, and you see there's a smaller amount that you get in the bulk, that, for example, I have a friend that shops at Costco and Sam's Club, and if you're getting a box of oatmeal and you notice it used to be 100 in the pack, and it would be, let's say, $9.99 for 100, but now you're seeing it's been reduced down to 50 in the pack, and you're still paying $9.99. That is a form of inflation has affected that, basically. So your dollars actually is weakening in purchasing power. So it's another slick way where you're not getting as much, because the dollar is fiat and it's not really attached to anything. Now, I do hear under this new system that the currency is supposed to be back to precious metals. But remember, if you studied accounting, if you do know about the private sector, this is why I give a disclaimer, high level information. I'm not sure how it's all going to play out in the end. I know the United States was like the world, still the #1 world's reserve currency, pinned to the petrodollar. That's still the case. Like, when still in 60% of countries around the world are still tied to the US dollar, but that could be changing, it could be reducing. And you have the globalists and the ruling class elite also involved. This is how these different things, subjects, tie into the financial aspect. And this is important to know. If you do pay attention to the national debt clock, we have a national deficit of over 26 trillion, and climbing is actually higher than that, and it gives a breakdown. It also shows you what the real price of silver is supposed to be at. And the last time I just checked, yesterday, which was the 6th, we're into the 7th, Friday, by the way, it just hit midnight, and it said the real price of silver was supposed to be at over $4,000. But you know, it's manipulated, and I'm going to try to touch on that as well, because back in 1913 it was worth $2.65 per each dollar. Because, for example, you know, these fiat Federal Reserve notes that we carry in our pocket, you know, this is fiat. It doesn't have intrinsic value, and it's people's faith that they put into it. This is also attached to the Federal Reserve banking system, where it says at the top, Federal Reserve note, which you have fractional reserve banking. So this is the physical form of it, but they print, we know, currency out of thin air. They also burn currency, where the difference is precious metals, which I didn't bring any with me, has intrinsic value. You can hold, it's tangible. Silver historically has been used as a form of true money, going back in history. By the way, you can look up and doing your own research. By the way, it's important to understand these Federal Reserve notes. And then they also, how this ties in with the redemption information, like these letters in the middle, they list which Federal Reserve bank this is attached to. Like this G is the Bank of Chicago, right? Chicago. So certain, you have a map of the United States where certain Federal Reserve banks are in charge or over certain districts in different states. Like this, in this state, Michigan, it's under Chicago. They have like sub branches too, or whatever. And this is a different dollar bill where you have the letter F on it. So this will be attached to Atlanta, by the way. And then there's it gets even deeper, where some of the sub accounts, when you look up, like based on the TDA, if you're wondering how that information, the so-called secret account, ties in, they're running like sub accounts through the mother banks at the top. And G was running under F, which is very interesting. When I attended a private seminar some years back, but remember, this is attached to the Federal Reserve banking system, which I hear there's been a new system put in place. There's supposed to be one, you know, it may not be fully implemented yet. Just giving you guys some examples, by the way. And because remember, things that are electronic can be manipulated. And if you I did a video a while ago on fractional reserve banking, where the money can be pulled out of thin air, can be created out of thin air, where the banks can loan up to 90% of what you have on deposit. So say, for example, you have $10,000 on deposit. Now, some people say it's 100%, but it's really supposed to be like 90% because they do pooling between people, by the way. People are human resources. And if you heard about mortgages, keep in mind what is asset-backed securities. If you heard about asset-backed securities and what they do behind the scenes to create derivatives and things, this is what this gets into. When you understand, this is why I'm going over the monetary system somewhat, but it's important to hold physical precious metals. You can never go wrong with holding silver, but now is the time because it's going to cost more of these to get precious metals, because precious metals, silver and gold, they act as a hedge against inflation. Silver is like poor man's gold because it's cheaper, but more recently the ratio is decreasing, where the earning potential that silver has is phenomenal. Because I was speaking with the elder a while ago and I had to get to thinking, and I remember when I used to attend this coin show more consistently some years ago. I haven't been in like a number of years, and I was kind of joking with the guys back then, and I was like, silver, no, gold, I said, is doing really good. I was just kind of, you know how you had put in small talk, you just joking around, and they said, no, silver is actually doing better. And I didn't really understand it. These guys are like mathematicians. They're used to bartering, dealing with transactions, being merchants, dealing with these types of transactions. And they said, no, silver is doing better. At that time, I don't remember which specific year in terms of the ratio, because if you've already been stacking over time, it's a hedge against inflation. So as the dollars are losing its purchasing power, this fiat, remember, this is no different than monopoly money. This is our faith. This is currency. When we exchange, it's our faith that we put in it. But however, it's pinged. It's not backed like it used to be. I hear this new type system they're coming out with, allegedly. Now, mind you, I don't know all the details. I'm not that much of an insider at that level. There's greater levels. Well, I heard, for example, the new $100 bills are supposed to be attached to gold, by the way, supposedly, but that new system might not be fully implemented in place yet. I've heard some names just to throw out there: the QFS, quantum financial system. I've heard of they're going to be moving away from SWIFT, which the bank deals with international wires. You have to know what the SWIFT code is if you're doing a wire domestically, but even internationally, all wires, bank wires, have to go through New York first before they go overseas. And I heard under the SIP system, which is an acronym for Clearinghouse Interbank Payment System. I'm not sure all of the details how that may be implemented. And then they're tying in with the cryptocurrency. Ripple is going to act as like a liaison, a go-between different payment processes with banks worldwide, where you're supposed to have faster types of transactions, by the way. But just keep in mind, at the end of the day, you can stack a lot of this, but how much, you have to ask, is it going to really buy you? Is it going to net you? As over time, it's not, you're not holding on to the value. When you stack precious metals, silver and gold, you can retain a certain amount of these, by the way. So the precious metals, because that's real money. So when the precious metals rise, the strength of the dollars, it's weakening. As we're seeing another reason, there's some other reasons why, if you're wondering why gold and silver are shooting up. The U.S. Mint put out a statement. You guys already heard about the supposedly coin shortage they're having a while ago. Well, the same applies to precious metals. There's articles online. You can look it up. By the way, don't take my word for what I'm saying. I did give a disclaimer, so this is not financial or legal advice. But the U.S. Mint is looking to take pressure off of the West Point Mint for San Francisco and Philly. They want to help assist at the San Francisco and Philly Mint minting gold and silver, because they got furloughed. They're behind because of the COVID thing. By the way, it tied in. It affected precious metals too, by the way, not just regular coins, clad coins. It affected the silver and gold market. So another thing that's happening, this is causing the price, because there's only so much silver that's above ground. One of the sources I was speaking to, who's more knowledgeable than myself, who I inquired some years ago when I got involved into learning about precious metals, and it was a great help study economics and history. And he told me recently, once again, there's only so much physical silver. So the more people out there are buying, which is actually happening, there's panic buying going on, similar to like during this COVID crisis, which is still going on. That you have people like panic buying food and stuff. This was happening with silver. I was talking to a coin dealer not too long ago. One of the coin dealers, one of the locations I go to. I've gone to several different locations. I won't necessarily just say many, but several different locations. And he was saying that, told me personally, they're seeing more people are buying it versus selling it back. Now, I saw one place recently from a YouTuber said, one dealer says it's like even, but that's still a difference. I remember some years ago when the coin dealers weren't doing as well because a lot of people were selling back, and that has an effect on the market too. They may have to cap a certain amount that you can get back with certain, say, silver bars, whatever, that big bars may not be as liquid because it's harder to break down, because the dealer, they might not have that much fiat on hand to for you to sell back to. But now, because a lot of people are purchasing, they're holding, it's law of supply and demand. When people call in, a lot of people need a lot of supplies, like say the Michael Jordan tennis shoes. When there's a big demand, but there's not a large supply, it causes the supply to dwindle down, or people have purchased a large amount of this particular shoe or particular precious metal, then you're looking at the prices can go up. Then you also have the black market as well, or underground economy, as some people call it, that will sell, to privately between, person to person, just like with firearms. They call straw man purchases or whatever. You have that going on as well. People barter things in general or trade things of that sort. So this is another reason why precious metals are going up. Gold and silver is rising because there's only so much physical silver in supply around the world, the globe. And mining companies, by the way, not just here in the States, but worldwide, other parts of the world, I heard a while ago, there's big corporations, big tech companies that are securing contracts because silver is used in TVs, medical devices. It has a high industrial demand, by the way, just like platinum is used inside catalytic converters. But that may be changing, why some people question why the price of platinum has dropped, because auto manufacturers, they're moving to different types of the ways that they make cars and stuff. But a lot of silver is highly high conductor, similar to copper. It's utilized and has intrinsic value and other properties to it, where major corporations are securing high level contracts, which are big deals, and that will cause, like, the mines, the places that do the hardcore stuff, by the way, that comes out of the ground, to cause their prices to rise, to go up. And then you also have people that invest in it. But another thing, you always want to hold the physical. I don't really get into the paper game. It's fine for people who play that. I'm not hating or nothing or whatever. But I heard Pastor Lindsey Williams say some years ago, he lived with the elite of the world. You can look up who Pastor Lindsey Williams is. He was connected to the Bible Prophecy Club some years ago. I'm not trying to get religious, just using him as a reference. I've referenced him in the past. By the way, he said his elite buddies told him, if it's written in paper worldwide, it's going to be worth basically the paper that it's written in. So he said, you want to get your hands on, he said this some years back, you want to get your hands on as much silver as possible. And I would even say gold, those two metals. There's people that argue one over the other is better. I believe in the long run, the long haul, that silver is going to catch up with the price of gold. And even there's people in the silver community that even believe, not all, but some that believe that silver may even pass the price of gold one day, because of the industrial demand for it is sky high. I just got finished explaining earlier, because there's only so much above ground. There was even a company I heard from Silver Joker's channel watching one of his videos I just recently subscribed to not too long ago. He's based down in my home state, and he mentioned that there was a company that burned or melted down, I should say, constitutional silver, by the way, because legally it's no longer in circulation because from 1964 on back, the coins had 90% silver. Now the time period, I don't know too much about the war nickels. I never mess with the war nickels because they only had 40% silver in them. I guess it has something to do with the war years ago, dealing with the supply. So I don't know all that history. So by no means am I a 5-star historian. You guys can do your research. But I've collected in the past. I've had mercury dimes, which are no longer minted. There's Roosevelt dimes from 1964 on back, Washington quarters, Kennedy half dollars, Franklin half dollars. They contain 90% silver. So you've seen them. They're practically non-existent in the coinage supply in our population because guys that are in the know will look at the dates on there and see if it's 1964 on back, then it's not worth less than this. It's actually, you have to look up the market rate. It's worth more than that face value, than that quarter that you're actually thinking. It may be several dollars or whatever with the price rising. It's not at this actual fiat amount. I didn't bring any coins, which would have been good, or one or two just to kind of show the comparison so you guys would understand between the fiat. But as I was explaining earlier, with precious metals, with this fiat currency, this is a different bank where you have the letter L attached to it. Just look at if you have any dollar bills on you, which a lot of people do. By the way, this for educational purposes. Let me see if I can see which bank this is connected to. This looks like, by the way, this says it looks like it says California. So this bank, this note is tied in with San Francisco, by the way. And mind you, when I bring up, the reason I'm bringing this fiat, the Federal Reserve notes, because remember, currency, the dollar is connected. This fiat paper currency is attached to the electronic stuff at the local banks where they're doing fractional reserve banking. As I was explaining earlier, if you have $10,000 on deposit, then they can loan up to 90%. So they can loan up to 90,000 through your signature. By the way, that you contract with them, you're giving that institution the power to basically monetize, securitize your value. It's really your signature is what funds many of these contracts, for those of you all in the know. And guys, if you can, the few that are joining, don't forget to thumbs up. By the way, it helps if you guys want to see me go to the next level. If you want this video to get out there, please shoot me a thumbs up. Helps me rank higher in the search results, by the way. And if you agree mostly what I'm saying, thumbing up the video is a way of voting. If you appreciate my content, what I'm doing, you like to see more stuff, it's always helpful. Don't forget to hit the like button. Appreciate you guys for joining, by the way. And this is Q&A. If you guys have any questions, thanks for joining. Okay, it looks like I see some more people in here. Agar Rios has thumbs up. Appreciate you, Agar, for joining. Victor Colin says it went up to $29.91. Okay, it's now down at $1. Okay, yeah, it's been pulling back. It's been playing this game, but it's been very volatile. Like it's shooting up. Like just this past Monday, when I was looking at it, it was like around at 24, going on towards 25, and it may pull back $1, and then it'll just start shooting up. It's been in an upward trend. So this is definitely, I haven't been looking at the charts, but this is a volatile bull market, by the way. Those of you all who are in the know, Bo Pony mentioned, by the way, that silver is set to see all-time highs coming this September. So I want to warn you guys, for everybody out there, no matter who you are, you want to start stacking. Don't fear FOMO, fear of missing out. But I'm telling you, now's the time to get in ASAP, because it's no telling how long. For example, when people were complaining that not too long ago throughout this year, it was below $20 an ounce, and it's been that way for quite a while. Very rarely, I think maybe sometime last year, I can't remember exactly, different periods, it would hit 20, then they manipulate it, they push it back down, because I'm going to talk about the COMEX, Chicago Mercantile Exchange, by the way, that's involved in the manipulation. By no means am I an expert, but this was explained to me by a pro, a elder. I won't say his name, always keep him secret, but that shared his wisdom with me, which I appreciate down the road. That I'm hearing recently, so I was having several conversations with more recently. People are calling in their physical delivery from the COMEX exchange, from their short positions, by the way, and they use that banks and different cronies high up behind the scenes have used it, bought up a bunch of contracts, and it somehow would push the price back down. But I said I don't think we're gonna see ever see below $20 again. Now it's possible, but I wouldn't bet on it. I would try to hurry up and get in, because I said once I commented on a silver channel recently that once it hits $50, people are gonna wish that they bought in at 24, 25. Some people think that's high. Now it's already 28, hit 20. I saw it hit 29 today. So you're right, Victor. Staying on top of it, by the way. Says, I hope there's some sort of pullback so I can get more. Yeah, don't we all? Those of us who know. And the elder told me that in a way, even though they are manipulating it, he said that if you're in the know and you know what's going on, he says they're actually doing us a favor. By the way, these are still, because the national debt clock tells you silver is supposed to be at over $4,000 an ounce, by the way. And what it was back in 1913, based on the inflation, was $2.65, by the way, which 1 ounce was worth, from what I understand. And it tells you, breaks it down for gold. If you go to nationaldebtclock.org, by the way, he says, Victor says, you think it'll be fully backed or partially? The new currency could be partial. When you get into accounting, you understand that there could be another ledger system, because we're definitely already into the digital age, and Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, blockchain are on a separate accounting system, even though it's pegged in a way that you can convert this, but they know this is centralized. It's attached to central banks. Crypto is more decentralized, by the way, where it's tied in with the consumer startups, tech companies, by the way, that can be more fair, and they only mine or make a certain amount so they can track it better. Even though I heard that some of the big whales who got into it early, they've been able to manipulate it when they all pull out stuff like that. By no means, once again, I may learn trading one day. I like to get into that. I wish I had known how to trade, because a lot of people I noticed that are advanced at stuff like this, cryptocurrencies, they've had classes already on Forex. They know how to trade, because when you study, especially if you studied in the redemption movement like myself, and you've tried to utilize negotiable instruments, and you see how evil the cabal is, how they don't want to accept them, because the Federal Reserve Bank behind the scenes, they weren't training their lower level tellers on how to accept these negotiable instruments, or how to negotiate these instruments so people could get the value, so you weren't just being crushed from the hard-earned labor you're getting from your job. Because this currency we're getting, like in the form of a paycheck or direct deposit. Remember, this is still Federal Reserve notes, and checks are still drawn off of FRNs, by the way. This is fiat, IOU, promissory notes, by the way, which isn't attached, but there is another side where it tells you right on here, this note is legal tender for public and private debts, because some people want to argue and say the private sector doesn't exist, but it tells you right on the currency, legal tender for public and private debts. There's another side. There's a few of you all who study in the redemption movement. I won't say which particular guru, whatever. I have mentioned his name before. I broke that down in the video. I have some of his webinars, some of his classes, by the way, that went over that, how there's another side to that contract. And there's another guy years ago who was very knowledgeable pertaining to the redeem and lawful money that touched on some of those aspects, by the way. Okay, let me turn this down. Okay, just bear with me, guys. So we got some more people in the chat. So let me try to answer you guys.
All right, that's a cut.
Okay, getting back to you guys. And if you guys join in, I'm your host, John Dorsey at Dorsey's Resource. Don't forget to hit the like button, thumbs up. You can subscribe to me, follow me on Dorsey's Resource. I'm on Facebook and Twitter at Dorsey's Resource. And once again, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button. It's an unofficial way of voting. If you guys agree with what I'm saying, you guys like my content, it helps out tremendously too, by the way, once again. So don't forget to smash the thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you hit the subscription bell, notification bell in the lower right up under the video. That way, whenever I put out new content, YouTube will notify you, by the way. RC says assets such as precious metals aren't going up in value. The dollar is going down in value. The inflation fallout from the stimulus and unemployment insurance payouts is being hidden in asset values. Yes, I agree with you. There's other ways of putting it, saying it. Yes, and I don't have the metal. I didn't bring any more and illustrate in a way because there's people that still don't understand the fiat system. There's many different aspects of it. So yes, I agree with what you're saying, RC. Yes, you are correct. Precious metals are going up. The dollar is falling down in value. Victor says, do we have enough gold to be fully backed, or would we break it down so it can be actually be on par with printing? Yes, Victor, I do think we do have enough physical. The question is going to be, because remember, the cabal, the evil cabal that's been in charge of the Federal Reserve, the fiat-based banking system, central banks, fraction that's been behind the fractional reserve banking, where they pull money out of thin air. Remember, I did a video on that a while ago. I don't remember which video it is. You guys have to search for it in my on my channel, by the way. But I did address that. Modern Money Mechanics, by the way, is a book, if you can still find it online, that talks about. So keep in mind that they want to keep the older system going on because they want to control people, where some of the elite children who rebel, who don't want to go along with their parents, and I've heard, or some of the good cabal, the good elites, by the way, that don't want to bring us into a dark age, want it to be more decentralized and fair for everybody, where it's not debt-based. Because when you study the history of the banking system, we never needed the Federal Reserve. We always had a U.S. Treasury. And I was reading a diagram earlier yesterday, the 6th, on Thursday, with President Abraham Lincoln, when he issued the greenbacks. That was issued by the Treasury, because he understood we didn't need the Federal Reserve Bank or outside bank. And then you have historically, when the British got involved in manipulating our currency supply, and John F. Kennedy, he passed an executive order 11-11-0, and he was aware that that currency wasn't attached to interest. It was interest-free United States notes. And you can still, if you go to certain coin shops or coin dealers, they still have some. They're like memorabilia notes, but they'll have the red instead of what you see, this green on here. You'll see red. And did you know Lyndon Baines' first order of business after Kennedy was sadly assassinated? His first order of business, believe it or not, this is oftentimes not brought up or discussed. His first order of business was to rescind Kennedy's executive order 11-11-0. So that's it. Looks like we got a super chat in here. See if I can try to read. Victor Colin, 1999. Appreciate the super chat, Victor. Thank you very much. Kudos to you for the super chat, by the way. So in finishing, going back up to read the rest of you guys' posts. So yeah, I do think we have enough. But the question to Victor, once again, to finish up your statement, is that the question is going to be under the new system, is the cabal, or are we going to be, where this might tie into defeating the evil cabal? Because remember the evil criminal cabal that's involved with child sex trafficking, bringing drugs in the country, having their operatives, get guns on the streets to minors and doing all types of illegal criminal activities. They want to keep the cabal fiat debt system in place, where that's why one of the reasons why cryptocurrencies were brought into place to try to help, and it's decentralized, where this is attached to the central banks, by the way, as many of you all already know. So yeah, I think they have enough gold, but it's also going to be important how we operate too down the road. Those of us, and to try to educate as many people, wake up as many as we can, it's going to play a vital role. RC says, when they raise the interest rates again, the asset values will reverse. Okay. Thank you for that input, RC. Very knowledgeable, I can tell. I have to brush up on my my economics and banking, by the way. So I can see that. I've heard about whenever the Fed raise interest rates or whatever, there's always like the inflation. You see the prices of things, items you purchase in the grocery stores and stuff, go up, by the way. Mary Saunders says, good evening. Oh, thank you for joining, Mary. Appreciate you. That was at 12:15 a.m. Eastern time, that message. And Victor says gold at the time was at 17% and silver at 212%, if I remember correctly, but don't quote me. Okay, yep. I don't know what the exact percentages are, but I hear that silver is doing very well. The silver to gold ratio is decreasing, and one day might catch up and may go as low as to like 5-1 or whatever, because of the earning potential. The silver is highly undervalued. There's there's only so much silver that's above ground. So I encourage everyone, go out there as soon as you can and buy 1 ounce silver or whatever you can get a hold of. Make sure you test it out. Make sure it's not fake stuff. You want to look into that, because I tell newbies as well, you have to be careful. They got videos on YouTube to show you magnets are not supposed to stick to silver, especially if it's 0.999. If a magnet sticks to it, then it's a good chance you have a fake. But that isn't the only way. Some of the con artists have gotten good at faking bars, and even I heard even the coins. So you want to have them checked out. I just saw one video today. I had never saw this before, where this guy, I guess he's in Las Vegas, had a coin x-ray machine, and it costs like several thousand, where he'll put the coin inside the machine and it'll tell you whether or not, like immediately, if it's a fake or not. I thought that was phenomenal. I never saw that before. That was my first time checking that out. So I'm still learning, but definitely now is the time. Don't waste no time, because it's shooting up. Because once it hits 50, people will be like, it's too high. And remember, you can fractionalize. You can buy lower, smaller denominations, just like gold, by the way. As gold is even going up. It's over 2,000 now. It's hitting record numbers. Sean Crystal says, I feel like this is unrealistic. The banksters will never fork up the gold. By the way, well, Sean, they control quite a bit of it, especially when you understand the redemption information and the so-called sovereign movement, or people they accuse of being sovereign citizens, and all of this talk. And by the way, they have already done a lot to, still historically, some historians know it's on record how they've stolen wealth down in South America, different parts of the world. They've looted wealth, robbed the people. So, but what they can't control is there is an insurmountable amount of people who are awake to the truth. And remember, we outnumber them. Our numbers are greater than they are. So they're not invincible. They can be defeated. That's why they're scared right now. They're being busted with their sex trafficking rings, their drug trafficking. Because who else? When you guys remember when that article came out, that ship that J.P. Morgan had that was owned by a hedge fund. They said through J.P. Morgan Chase, a cargo ship that the feds busted. You might still be able to find that article. Now, it was reported on by some mainstream outlets. You might still be able to find an article online. Don't quote me exactly where to find it, but I heard that happened with Bank of America some years ago, by the way. But these banks, because remember, it's people behind the scenes, these cronies, by the way. And then that's why I encourage you guys, check out the movie Money Masters and Monopoly Men, because there was a saying years ago, if you don't learn from the history, my history teacher, Mr. Forster, I went to Evangel Christian Academy some years ago. He used to quote when he would lecture us and show us movies. There were famous quotes historically: those who do not learn from their history are condemned to repeat it. By the way, so we want to learn the history. This is why some of the new things that's being pushed to bring in socialism and communism, the Marxists want to get rid of history classes and create like re-education learning centers, by the way, because they want a society of people they can dumb down and control. So that's why they're not necessarily our friends. Where BLM, Antifa, these are front groups. The elites are funding anarchist groups. They need to be stopped. The evil cabal members do need to be identified, in my opinion. Their accounts need to be frozen. Their wealth needs to be seized. This is a form of money laundering, by the way. So, like, for example, if that attorney general in New York is going to come after the NRA, and I was listening to the press conference earlier today, then we need to have a look at George Soros, who's also based in New York, and his son, Alexander Soros, who's been a form of, he has a foundation, which is another form of a nonprofit, to see if they're following the laws, by the way. Because I tell you, I lean more to the right, but I would say to the conservatives out there, don't be afraid to flex your muscle. You know, Attorney General William Barr, Trump, you guys are more honest, in my opinion. There's more corruption on the left side. I've seen it for years locally on WXYZ 7 city corruption. Remember, and they know if people from Channel 7, WXYZ, they have phenomenal investigative journalists, and not just them. I've watched Fox 2 News, that's the local news station, Channel 4 WDIV some years ago. Some of the sting operations they busted, the city corruption from city council to even corrupt judges. That's how I even know about for example, the Judicial Tenure Commission, where if you have to report corrupt judges and the Attorney Grievance Board and Civil Rights Commissions, stuff like that, for misconduct that's going on. So it shouldn't be a one-sided partisan witch hunt. It needs to be a fair, balanced agenda at play. In my opinion, by the way, they need to look into George Soros. By the way, if they're going to get on the NRA, the stuff that she brought up, which I believe is politically motivated, because they said some years back with a lot of things, they wanted to disband the NRA, National Rifle Association, and stuff like that. But, why did Jeffrey Epstein and the parts of New York where the case was shut down, and what people don't know, they try to tie Trump in and say he was good friends. But I found out recently that Trump banned Jeffrey Epstein back in 2008 from Mar-a-Lago once Trump found out about the little St. James Island where they were trafficking women. Because from what I understand, Trump is not perfect, but he's into grown women. He's not into the children and stuff like these other criminal Hollywood Nexium cult that was busted. The lady pled guilty to, who was the head of it. I don't know her name, but I do know the actor Allison Mack was tied in with that. A lot of that was coming out of New York, was a hub, connected to Prince Andrew. It's all connected to Hollywood, and they found the NYPD police, which was supposed to do a press conference, found this on Anthony Weiner's laptop some years ago. The detectives, by the way, some egregious things. So we should have seen the press conference. We need to get an update if some of those detectives are still around. By the way, that attorney general needs to look into that, and heavily, just like, they all these women ganged up on Weinstein. And remember, Quincy Jones had made a comment in Hollywood and say, we already kind of knew about this when he was relating to certain people. I'm just saying how this stuff, this ties in with the cabal, this other stuff. Because people say, oh, Dorsey, what does that Illuminati stuff have to do with all this other stuff? It's the manipulation. They're stealing our wealth from us, by the way. They're stealing our value, giving us fiat, by the way. And if you know about the taxes, there's another side of the accounting ledger. By the way, I won't go into all the details because I feel some of it's too sensitive. Some people don't use information that I share responsibly. That's why I do give a disclaimer, by the way. They don't use information, and this is for educational purposes under the Fair Use Act. And also, it's not legal advice. In the event you feel you need to seek a competent professional lawyer, it is encouraged you do so at one's own leisure. This is also not financial advice either, or securities advice. Once again, I encourage everyone, do their in-depth research. Don't take my word for what I'm saying. By the way, I'm not, I'm just relaying the information I've done from my research, by the way. But don't feel, Sean, the cabal can be defeated. I don't think it's unrealistic. They're going down. By the way, there's arrests coming, and I also think that's one of the reasons why some of the other stuff is being held up. By the way, just my opinion. So it's just a percentage, so that messes a lot of things up. Okay, I wasn't sure what you're specifically referring to from that comment. RC says you have to create scarcity to soak up the inflation. Okay, there may be something I don't know, RC. By the way, no, the big boys at the top, they have a way of, with financial manipulation. M Lords 06 says, good to see you spitting knowledge again. Love these late night podcasts. Thank you. Appreciate it. Appreciate the comment. Kangaroo Jack says, are we close to the RV yet? I hope. What I've been hearing lately from different intel providers, for example, I was listening to Currency 365 and Benny was saying something about, I thought that the Pope had signed off on the RV some years ago when he was saying he's sick and the RV is in danger of not happening. I was listening to another intel video I was just sent recently from Fleming, by the way, that I guess has a contact with the military or what's going on behind the scenes. And he stated that the Chinese are trying to send these emails that's supposed to come over here. That's, I guess, part of the process that's got to go through for the exchanges and stuff, like everything to fall in place. And they're being blocked, by the way. He said that the cabal, they're doing all they can. He said they're hiring hackers to stop somehow these are emails from going through, which is real sinister and evil. But I noticed from this intel, this is similar to a post, trying to remember that where this ties in with very similar to something else I heard. Oh, yeah, another source that I have was telling me, by the way, he was listening to this conference call where they focus more on the trust aspect of after the RV, or what you should have set up before, and, being properly structured, by the way. So you're not commingling and things of that sort. You're staying out of statutory jurisdiction. And he stated, the guy on there said that the NSA, National Security Agency, was blocking at one time the RV from happening. And I said, why would they be doing something like that? Unless I'm thinking from the previous administration. I did do a video in the past how the presidents do have power to make it happen. But I think maybe Trump's advisors or other people in the know, there's some other things I know with one particular government agency. I won't say the name of this particular government department that's tied in with when they said that the people were supposed to step in or help out for a specific reason with the exchange, because the dinar is pinged to a particular currency. I won't say or go into the details, and kind of understanding that was relayed to me. I'm kind of speaking in code, by the way, that plays a part. And I was told by another source that I have privately that this particular department has actually been holding up the RV. And this other source, to tie this all in together, different intel, I'm connecting the pieces, has said it's coming from the United States, is being blocked for whatever reason. So hopefully, he said, continue to pray. The cabal, is up to their dirty tricks. That's why you need to wake as many people up as possible. It's an information war, and that needs to be done. But I think it's eventually going to happen. What's dark must come to light. Check out the documentary called Changes on the Horizon. It's a reason I always will go over that documentary. You can still watch for free on YouTube. It's called Changes on the Horizon. I believe someone uploaded a combined uncut version, by the way. Victor Collins says, okay. So I think, Kangaroo Jack, we could be close, but I can't really speak on it. I've kind of put it on the back burner. By the way, I even said sometime there's a date I'm looking at, I think even next year. By the way, 2020, I wouldn't be surprised if it went back that far. But I have heard from a couple sources that something's got to be taking place around maybe September, October. I don't know, because I'm not that high up. There's different people who are really high up in the know in terms of their sources and what's really going on. Victor Collins says, once we enter the AI era, silver will boom and it'll be 1-to-1. Yes, I agree, Victor. I have heard about the Webbot reports from Cliff High, from the other YouTuber I follow down in Florida. I appreciate his info. I love his videos and the work that he does down there and with his woo-woo friends. I don't really like, me personally, I don't get into that conspiracy stuff when they get to talking about the aliens, but I do know about remote viewing. I used to do astral projections some years ago. I know of things of that sort. Remote viewing. I do like some of the predictions from some of the psychics that he knows. And he also studied Bible prophecy, so it shows he has like a background foundation in the church similar to me, even though I don't attend like church on a regular anymore, but it did give me a foundation for my morals and values, and also taught me about biblical prophecy. That's why I can relate to what Bo Pony, what he breaks down with his analysis and forecasts that are coming down the road, by the way. So I do believe, yes, I have heard Cliff High talk about, and then they've discovered technology down in Antarctica area, where I heard former President Obama, the Pope, Vladimir Putin, certain people were privileged exclusively to visit Antarctica because they found special technology down excuse me, down in that region of the world. So I get into some of the stuff, but when it gets too esoteric, when it starts talking about, the alien stuff like that, I kind of, shine away. But I do like to know, so I'm inquisitive, some of the information that gets sci-fi, like, I don't mind hearing about it. It's just when it gets all the time, and it gets too out of sight, out of mind, there's kind of a level of balance I try to maintain. That's why you never really heard me talk about stuff like that. But I believe Planet X or Nibiru is real. There is some validity to it, by the way. Just don't know exactly when it'll be showing up or appearing down the road, because we know catastrophic. When you study history, things have happened to the planet, and there's some planetary changes that are on the horizon, by the way. Victor Colin says facts. Victor Colin says, yep, $50/60 by September. By the way, yep, I wouldn't be surprised if it goes higher than that. By the way, it's been moving at this steady pace. It's been climbing almost damn near every day in the week. It's like it might pull back $1, but then it's shooting up like it's shooting up there when you're following the market, man. I mean, these are some amazing times to be living in. Hey, Keisha says, peace and blessings. Greetings to you. Thank you for joining. Sean G says, how many ounces of silver should I invest in to be on the safe side? By the way, I've heard allegedly, because giving my opinion to answer your question, Saul, how much should you invest? That's based on your budget. I've heard top guys that are economists, experts say about maybe 20% of your portfolio, your overall, like your retirement. I would say don't put all your eggs in one basket. I was sharing this with one relative. If you have 401k, it doesn't hurt, because I don't know how this all is going to play out, by the way, and I'm not, by no means a financial expert. However, if you do have a certain portion of the IRA, your 401k tied into precious metals, it would be important to also hold a significant portion of physical as well, by the way, and learn as much as you can. YouTube has a plethora of information with a lot of guys that have recently come out. I've noticed a lot of videos I've subscribed to, they don't have over 10,000 subscribers. There are a lot of silver videos, guys that make videos nothing about silver. A lot of times they don't show their faces, which I understand for security purposes. That's fine, by the way. But they give excellent breakdowns, and don't just take my word for it. So you get other perspectives. And that's how I learn. I see other perspectives like constitutional silver. So it'll be based on your budget, how much you would own. But I'll tell you one of the mistakes and what to watch out for. You want to make sure that you want to prepare for unexpected emergencies. So you want to put a certain amount of your funds to the side just in case, if you do make a certain amount of money, you make really good money, have a good paying job, you're in a high net worth, I would definitely always have a rainy day fund. Maybe you have a separate budget, an emergency fund, just in case something happened. By the way, say if your water heater went out at your house or something, or if your car engine broke down, or whatever, for the unexpected. So you want to still hold a little bit back just in case something happens, by the way, that you may not know that could be unexpected. Because many of us out here, we're on the grind. The value system I was explaining to one of my relatives, by the way, and it was no knock. She understood perfectly well where I was coming from. Those of us who've had a rough life where your parents didn't know about this type of information, you had to learn it on your own. And I literally learned this information by myself because I was inquisitive. I studied, like in the redemption movement. A lot of people don't know how good they have it nowadays. Years ago, I had to attend private meetings through word of mouth just to get this type of information. By the way, and I was catching the bus. I didn't have a car at the time. I caught the bus. My friend used to call up sometimes and say, man, it's about to storm outside. It's about to either be a rainstorm, or if it was in the wintertime, a really bad storm, and I'd be on my way to the meeting. Sometimes I would get rides home from the people there. They were a blessing to me. Like a guy that worked at Chrysler, I forget his name, by the way. They were really, good people at the time, and I would go to get the private. These were like private classes, by the way, get the education. By the way, we may not have had all the information at the time, but it taught me a lot, by the way. So imagine where my mindset had to be and how intelligent I had to be to know that there was a such thing as this redemption information, where this connects is not a scam, as certain gatekeepers and villains and trolls will have you believe that it's all a farce and that this stuff isn't real. There's no secret account. There's no TDAs. No, I can debunk that. I have documentation, verified documentation. I also attended a private event some years ago, which I could prove through documentation and paperwork I still have in my possession, and some of it I've scanned, by the way, for record purposes. So I don't just make stuff up. But just to answer your question, Saul, it would depend on your budget, by the way, what you're willing to put in. But I would just say, for safety mechanisms, always have stash aside for potential emergencies, rainy day funds, because you never know. But at the same time, you don't want to have too much of this in a savings account or at a bank. You want to diversify. I didn't even really touch on the safety deposit boxes, because sadly, if the banks completely fail, like has happened in years past, those safety deposit boxes can be leaked. That's why it's important to hold the physical precious metals. Make sure you get you a safe, have maybe a separate location. Don't have all of your places eggs in one basket. There's some companies that will assure you, for people that are more high net worth, where they'll actually hold your precious metals for you. They charge a fee, just like storage places that where people pay to have their stuff put in storage. By the way, there's places that will actually, for online dealers, that are more trustworthy compared to banks, by the way, because there's always this premise in doomsday talk. Potentially, it's always important to take potential precautions, because you never know. They say those safety deposits can be locked up, and the banks issue capital controls if we go into major hyperinflation, which is happening in other parts of the world, like Cyprus, and I heard Greece, other places where they put a freeze or lock on ATM machines, where you're not able to withdraw as much on it as usual. Say if your withdrawal limit was $500 a month or $400 per month, they could reduce that down to $200, maybe even lower than that. And then I've heard instances of long lines, and that will be a headache. It was even an elder telling me many years ago, and I was shocked to hear this history, that some people were actually able to escape, make it out of Vietnam during the war, because they had access, they own precious metals. That's how they were able to escape out of the country, get out of there in time, because that, I guess, gave them enough money for their transportation, as a hedge against their fiat during the time. He also told me many years ago, this private source that I have, that at coin shops or coin dealers, there was long lines too, by the way. And there's things I won't really go into details about. Some of you guys already know, maybe save that for a future video, because I don't like, there's some people who listen to the type of information that don't have good intentions, and I did give a disclaimer. So I want everyone to govern themselves responsibly. Watch your six, be safe out there, and do things responsibly, but learn as much as you can to educate yourself about this information that I'm going over. I'm so confident in what I say. Don't take my word for what I'm saying. I encourage you, please do your research, do your homework, and you'll see, by the way. So to get back to the chat, Victor Collins says, Saul, gee, I've heard $1,000 an ounce. Yeah, I've heard that too. I've heard if you at least acquire or get up to 1,000 ounces in silver, then whatever it goes up to, let's say if silver was to hit $600 one day, and you multiply that times 1,000, I think that comes to 600,000. By the way, if you held 1,000 ounces of silver, by the way. So if if you stopped collecting, say if you made really good money and you could afford that much, because that's expensive, by the way. Now, as the price is going up higher, by the way, because you have the premium that you have to pay, and based on the types of metals that you get, even with gold, if you want to acquire some gold as well, because I recommend in your portfolio, if you have it, it doesn't hurt to have a little bit of gold. But there's some people that argue one over the other. I think it doesn't hurt to have both. Some people want to stick with one of the metals, and that's fine. I don't have no pet peeves about that. Do what people want to do. But yeah, that's a good estimate. Thanks for helping answer Victor's question, Saul. That I've always heard that $1,000, if you hold at least 1,000 ounces, for example, if you had silver was at when it hit $20 an ounce and you went to sell it back, say I want out, I don't want to invest in silver no more, and you said, hey, I'm through with it, and you already had 1,000 ounces at the time, and the market rate was at 20, they got to give you that. And if you had silver eagles, maybe a little bit over spot, and so you would get 20,000, in FRNs. Like, watch that pawn shop show, by the way, excuse me, that's on YouTube. They had an episode where a guy sold back like over $100,000 worth of silver he had back in 2018. I would say if I had as much, if I was a high roller, I had deep pockets like that guy, I would have tried to hold on. I don't know if he did still have a portion that he still held on to, but there was quite a bit he sold back on that pawn shop show. That guy it's a funny show to watch, where people negotiate, bargain on different antique items that they want to sell back, stuff like that. By the way, that will kind of help give you guys an idea of what people do at coin shops, pawn shops, etc. out there. RC says Money Masters is a great documentary. Yes, I agree. Definitely, no doubt. Sandra Weeks says only 1 or 2% of the entire world invest in gold and silver. Yeah, I could see that. That would be based on, financial literacy and just knowing about it, this type of information. Because some people I can't fault, there's just never heard of it. And some of the cabal people, they don't want people to necessarily know either. By the way, they want to keep it hush hush, by the way. So, yeah, you're right. I think on point about that. Edgar Rios says, will real estate take a hit? Yes, I've heard that. By the way, and we kind of saw something like that happen with the mortgage meltdown back in 2008 with the bonds, when the banks, they got bailed out, Lehman Brothers, other institutions, and Fannie, Freddie Mac, when the crisis went on. I heard about deals. There was all types of deals going on. And I wish I had known back then, because I was never taught by my parents like some other people had this education. A lot of people, believe it or not, don't tell you behind the scenes. They got some type of assistance, help, but we do have to take responsibility upon ourselves. So I don't want to sound like a victim, like I'm pushing leftist talk. Victimhood, it is up to me, but I wish I had known that it was cheaper to have a house overall instead of renting an apartment, because I see when you have an apartment, these apartment complexes, these companies, they take advantage of people. They keep going up on people's rent every year, where generally if you have a mortgage and it's at a fixed rate, it's not an adjustable rate where the interest goes up, then you have you're going to have a certain amount that you're working with to eventually pay it off. And I wish I had known, by the way, but you live and you learn. So I heard, yeah, definitely down the road that the real estate market is going to take a hit, that you'll see fire deals, all types of deals, even in other areas too. And that's actually already been occurring in some places. Victor says, if you had 10 million, where and how would you disperse that money? I.e., uh, i.e. cryptos. Not sure what the IE stands for. Cryptos, yeah, definitely. It's a good bet. Metals, yes, definitely. Since the banks will only allow 250K to a 1 mil. Yes, I've heard about that. I've also heard at high levels, the way the rich, I would say it's a difference between being wealthy and rich. When I talked about when some people out there said they wanted to contact me, and I mentioned in the last video the type of people that I'm looking for, and there are exceptions to the rule. And I put it out there already that if someone is a member of the ruling class elite, that's a part of the good elite that's willing to help, that knows how to access the funds to the DTC or knows a way where I can get out of this job. By the way, clearly not just talk, but is genuine. I would keep your name and everything private if you contacted me at j279dorsey@gmail.com. Then I would you would have a friend for life. I would never forget you because I would look at it as though you helped pull me out of the this public sector, this rat race that I'm going through, and help me access the funds because many of these corporations, government entities, are not showing you how to do the proper tax assessment. With some of the forms, I understand when I learned about some of this information when I attended this private event some years ago, and some people got a chance to access this card. I'll actually pull my wallet out already to see if I still have it. When some people got a chance to access this black card, and this is expired. It's kind of worn. I'll hold it up to the camera so you guys can see. And if you guys can kind of as a strip, and this was before the chips, the microchips were mandated. By the way, see if I had oh, excuse me. You know how on the new cards they have the chips on there, that little gray box you could see. So these were the older cards. That was microchips were mandated. And there was people when I attended that event who supposedly messed it up for everybody else. And I followed, it's very frustrating because I followed a lot of the rules. There was members of the private sector. There's a difference between the free private sector and versus the rich. There's things that I know about, and if you want to contact me, I can put information in the description box of new rules that I'm requiring. Now it's a $50 donation, by the way, for anybody that wants to contact me. Also, if you want me to send you any webinars or material that I have, it'll be additional fee for any templates and webinars because it takes a while to upload those big files, and I'm one of a few people that knows how to do that. By the way, I can get that to you as long as you have access to the internet, and then you will be able to download it from your computer, educational stuff. Because I've helped out a lot of people in the past pro bono, free, and a lot of times they disappear, jet up on me. They didn't stay in touch, XYZ. So that's why I said specifically as of recently my new requirements, and also because I had someone that sent me some documents. I always tell people before you want to contact me, please leave a description of what it is you want to, the reason you want to contact me for. Because one person I gave a follow-up, I responded, and they sent me what appeared to be them and their husband's private payroll tax documents from their job, payroll statements or whatever. And I deleted that email because we never set up a private representative to client relationship. You have something called an attorney-client relationship where a contract has been established. That's like me showing up to a CPA firm, that's where certified public accountants work at, or tax attorneys, and saying, here's my 1099 paperwork, I want you to file it. And just like they might have gotten my email address that I was supposed to come for a meet and greet for an appointment, but we hadn't established as of yet for them to look at my documents or for me to even tell them about it. They didn't go into they just sent this to me in the email. So people, we have to learn proper professionalism and etiquette. So privately, if you do want, this will let me know who's serious, and it won't waste my time since I am still on a 9 to 5 job that does, which is just over broke, by the way. If I could find a way to get out of this, I wouldn't have mind doing this information, sharing this type of information, which I have done in the past, a lot of stuff on the house, absolutely free. I would have more time. But because I have time restraints and time equals money, a lot of people spent in years past currency on movie theaters to go to concerts and stuff of that nature. But when it comes to their freedom, accessing their freedom, they don't want to purchase their freedom. They'll pay for Netflix, for movies. People bought music CDs, luxuries, amusement parks, things of that sort. But when it comes to even this type of information, and they know that I'm very knowledgeable and I'm one of a few people, I'm at a certain level in this, by the way. I won't say I'm advanced as some people, but I'm definitely can provide a lot of insight, by the way. Just like I'm sharing this video pertaining to this precious metals aspect. So that's what the new requirements are for those. If you are serious, want to contact me for private consultation, it will be a donation. I'll leave. You can check the previous video I've done. I'll just transfer the information over. I'm in the midst of doing. Also, guys, I want to put it out there. Don't forget, I just posted the link to my backup channel. Don't forget to subscribe to my backup channel if you can. It's Dorsey's Resource Channel 2. Now, I don't have any videos uploaded yet, but what I plan on doing is uploading videos to that channel when you guys don't see me go live for a while. In the meantime, if because I think I might have to reach a certain amount of subscribers before I can do live, unless YouTube might have changed that rule, by the way. But I'll be uploading videos over there just to give you guys a heads up that may not be on this channel. That'll be like additional information, by the way, and it'll be as a backup. Also, there are alternate social media sites, platforms, web hosting platforms you guys want to join. By the way, I posted the links in the previous video, the description box of the video I uploaded before this video, which was called, that dealt with big tech election meddling or something like that. I put it in the description box. But you want to look into these social media accounts as an alternative because of the censorship with YouTube. You want to check Brighteon.com, BitChute, and Band.video, especially that video when those doctors got censored. They still have it on Band.video, the extended version of that video that Facebook, I tried to post it on there. Facebook took it off on both my private accounts, my private personal accounts. I didn't post it to my main page at Dorsey's Resource, but Facebook, they took it off. Twitter censored it, and YouTube, all in cahoots with one another. That's why I think, in my opinion, the big tech giants that spoke at these hearings recently, they need to be broken up like Microsoft was some years ago, because antitrust laws were created to help protect competing businesses, small businesses, to make sure monopolies weren't put in place, had to be established to keep these corporations from bullying other smaller mom and pop corporations of people trying to come up in the fair market. So I think there needs to be new rules for the internet, the digital age, like a digital bill of rights, digital constitution. They say because YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, all of these companies, I found out, registered as public utilities, which meant years ago when you had landline telephones, your water, sewage, your lights and gas, if it was the Detroit Edison, PG&E utility, they registered as public utilities. So when they censor conservative voices or voices that don't align with them, they're violating the First Amendment, freedom of speech, by the way, through the censorship, because they're using, egregious tactics for things that are even like that video that the doctors put out. That was G-rated. Just like how on the movies rate, like you have G, PG, rated R, rated X. That was G-rated. When those doctors did that video, there's no reason that should have been censored. And I actually had recently, I forget to give you guys an update. I do have some good news with YouTube, by the way. So it isn't all doom and gloom. YouTube, not too long ago, restored that part one of that video that I did on the TDA accounts. You'll see it if you go to my channel, click on the videos, and it'll show like the videos I have in the past where before YouTube changed their algorithm and I had those videos kind of went viral. I had way more views than what I'm getting now because that was under their old algorithm system. They're under their new system. Of course, they're intentionally censoring big information they don't want people to find out or be aware of. That's why you see lower viewer counts, by the way. So because they're pushing, they're catering to Hollywood and mainstream media. So they're allowing actors, entertainers, music artists that are come on there for the first time to have their videos propped up. But those of us who already had voices before, who made YouTube into what it was, us other grassroots content creators who originally helped build YouTube up to what it is, many others, not just myself, but others out there, they blacklisted, some of us blackballed, whitewashed, just so that's why I say it's important for you guys to support us, independent content creators. Those are giving you the real information that's unfiltered, that's not fake news. I'm not funded by George Soros, by the way. So this is genuine, independent media, by the way. So you want to subscribe, create an account on brighteon.com, BitChute, band.video, minds.com, and also gab.ai. But I recommend definitely check out band.video. They have excellent information. Even if you don't agree with everything that's stated, this particular radio talk show host that was banned, you know, they're telling a lot of lies about him. I heard they even created a show called Homeland. He mentions that's based off of him. I don't know too much about, but a lot of it is lies. I've watched this show for a number of years, so that means that my skill set, I can tell when the mainstream media is lying or trying to twist the story, because I've watched him and I have not seen many things that they're accusing him of. I've not seen that they're trying to make it like he's a crazy person, he's delusional, but him and his reporters give excellent information, by the way. So you guys want to make sure you definitely support band.video. Kudos to himself and his reporters and staff people over there for doing the wonderful job that they do, by the way. But they have that video, by the way, that was censored, and you guys definitely, that's where we have the power. There's power in numbers, guys. And you guys, I want to commend you that still follow me. You guys are doing a wonderful job. You think you're not defeating the cabal. I heard they're having nightmares in their sleep because they're being exposed with this COVID thing, for example, with the vaccines. They're being exposed with the child sex trafficking rings. There's arrests that are coming. There's people that have already pled guilty, even with the Nexium Hollywood cult. It's just the mainstream media has been conveniently picking and choosing who they want to target, you know, in partisan politics, just like that New York Attorney General that's specifically targeting the NRA, which was said some years ago, just like they're talking about they want to defund the police. They mentioned they want to defund the NRA. So notice that they're being targeted. And I heard the mayor in Chicago, Lori Lightfoot, blamed the NRA for the gun violence in Chicago. No, that's some BS. You can't have it both ways when you say you don't want the police to help police the communities or regulate, or enforcement to come in, federal officers to come in, and you have large gang violence and things, children that have died, where business owners in that area, I watched the press conference where business owners put up their hard-earned dollars to help apprehend and catch some of the people doing this egregious activity, by the way. And I've seen that go here locally where I'm at, by the way, in other parts of the country. And ironically, you have to ask, why does this happen in the many liberal cities? I'm just saying, not trying to get political, because I'm actually apolitical. I'm not a registered voter. I haven't been a registered voter since 2004, by the way, but I will get political. I do lean more to the right, by the way, and I'm not afraid to say it. I like Trump and like what he's doing overall. It doesn't mean that you have to co-sign or agree with everything that he says or does, by the way, but I look at his policies. I don't practice identity politics. I look at the man. I know who the cabal is. I encourage you guys to do the research. The Illuminati / ruling class elite is real. There's some guys out there that try to say, and they have like a hood ghetto mentality, some of the Pookies and Ray Rays, so I say, oh man, that Illuminati stuff is not real. No, that Illuminati stuff is real. They're the globalists. They're a criminal syndicate, and there are books on them that you can get. This is not a conspiracy theory. But I want to say as a rebuttal, that's people being lazy, not doing their homework, or not as well studied, that haven't studied even what these last names of people mean. like in the black community, I'm aware of slavery, how plantation owners made their slaves take on their last names. By the way, this is an article was put out by Yahoo News some years ago with General Colonial Anderson, where he had a slave that escaped the plantation, and his slave had the same last name because he was owned by Colonial Anderson. But it's important to look up what these names mean, the etymology, like son of Ander, by the way, or Jackson, son of Jack. By the way, even going back years ago when they didn't have surnames. But it's important to learn your history. This is where all these things tie in: history, economics, banking, science, all of these things. There is a correlation. This is why I'm going over all of this information. So I know you guys are like, how did I get to talking about precious metals and to branching into these other topics? But it's important to learn about the elite and learn who they are, because you will better understand the economy and how to prepare to move forward and wake as many loved ones, relatives, your children up. Wake them up as possible, because they also have done something to try to keep children from learning this type of information. They're trying to weaponize the school system and have operatives, even people who are tutors, to try to put kids on Facebook. By the way, when these kids aren't even old enough to be on Facebook or understand social media. By the way, did you know, I heard that Bill Gates and some of the elites didn't even allow their children privately to have access to social media because they understood how it was weaponized subconsciously to keep you from distracted and adds on to attention deficit disorder. So you're not able to focus as much. By the way, yeah, these are some secrets of the elites. They don't allow, many of them, the top globalists, they don't allow their children to have social media until like a certain age or whatever. I remember even Michelle Obama didn't like for her daughters to have access to Facebook. She used to bring it up some years ago. By the way, you have to ask the question, and they were going to like an elite school, by the way, once he became president, and they transferred. And they went to that school in DC. So it's things, these subjects, other various topics do all tie in. I know I got a little off track, so I'm going to get back to the chat. This video was mainly pertaining, I was going over precious metals, the reason why the prices are going up, because silver is highly undervalued. The U.S. Mint, because of the COVID crisis, was looking, just as a recap, to take pressure off the West Point Mint for San Francisco and Philly to start minting silver and gold coins. Plus, with the COMEX, Chicago Mercantile Exchange, there's a high number of people that are calling in their orders, their short positions for physical delivery. That's been known. They've been manipulating for years. I've even heard the Trump administration, they may take action or down the road because of the manipulation. Because if you look at the national debt clock, it shows you what the real price of silver is supposed to be at. Last time I checked, just over $4,000 per ounce, and it shows you what it was valued at in 1913 at $2.65. If you go to nationaldebtclock.org, and then there's a breakdown for gold as well. By the way, what you guys can do, I've talked about it a long time ago in my videos. Mining companies also are making partnerships with large corporations for silver, which has industrial value because it's used in a lot of different, it's used in medical devices, TVs, computers, things of that sort that, you know, we may not be aware of. You guys can look that up. And in the way the dollar is losing its purchasing power in fiat. So precious metals are a safe haven against inflation, by the way. This is important. So I went over that. Also, don't forget, if you guys haven't subscribed to my backup channel, both channels, make sure you hit the notification bell. My backup channel, I don't have any videos uploaded yet, but just be on standby, because when you guys might not see me do a video for a while, I may start uploading like shorter videos over there where I don't go live, but I'll have other videos or previous videos uploaded. So don't forget, and then I can, you know, have an alternative. Plus, you guys can find me on the other accounts. So let me get back to the chat section before I shut things down. By the way, it says, if you have 10 million, where and how would you disperse? Okay, I think I answered that question. I think that's an excellent decision, Victor. I would, you know, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Have some of it, yeah, definitely in cryptos. Because I saw a story on Jeff Bezos, some other people, how they diversify their billions and their investments. They put them in different assets. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. So definitely, you know, it's good to diversify your portfolio, as I mentioned. Says that's fair. When I get there, I'll hit you up, bro. Thanks. Okay, appreciate you. Victor says Parlor is good too. Okay, I'm not sure what you're referring to by that comment. Saul G says, if it's not too personal, what different types of investments are you into now? That's fine. Foreign currency, by the way, to answer your question, Saul. Cryptos, by the way, I hold a little bit of that, not as much as some people. And then also precious metals, by the way. And then I was part of several different prosperity programs, but I don't know what will come about that from years past. I heard that those were paying to the reset because there's just so much criminality that's happened. I'm also part of a lawsuit that's going on with one particular investment I was part of some years ago. I get some updates about, by the way, I won't say the name, by the way, but it was turned over to a particular government agency. I won't say the name, by the way. So I could be seeing something back from that. Maybe not, you know, necessarily a lot, but I did invest a significant portion of my hard-earned labor right at the last minute. They always get you. In some years past, I've also lost money from investments too, by the way. And that's just a few. I don't know. I'm not a trading expert like some people. I would like to learn those things, like dealing with Forex and things of that sort. It's still never too late, but it's going to take some time, by the way. Hopefully I answered your question. Those are the few types of investments or things that I'm into, by the way, which isn't a lot compared to some people. They have very large portfolios. Some people have high yield accounts, secret stuff that's only exclusive to certain people. I don't, you know, I'm not a high roller like that. Wish I was. I could have been some years ago very close when I referred to that event that I attended some years ago. Don't know if that'll ever come through because they were still holding our private paperwork from that particular event that I attended, by the way, where I showed this card, by the way, and it did have, if you can see from the glare, it did have the strip on the back. Because the story behind that was some people were breaking the rules and they messed it up for everyone else. They were going on shopping sprees, emptying out ATM machines, buying up airplanes, sports cars, and stuff like that. And I followed all of the rules during that particular time period. I always mention, I just want to clarify, but that event taught me a lot. Like when I was going over earlier in this video about the different Federal Reserve banks, the letters listed on the notes. By the way, like D, this is out of Cleveland. This letter D. By the way, this is E, which is out of Richmond, Virginia. That's the Federal Reserve Bank of Richmond, Virginia. By the way, we got, let's see, C in here. I think this is out of Philadelphia. Yep. So we have C. This is Federal Reserve Bank of Philadelphia. Because it's rumored allegedly that when new babies are born, that from your birth certificate, that bond is turned into the form of a registered security. You're placed on the securities market where the Federal Reserve takes out a loan, pledges everyone as collateral. That's a QSIT number, by the way. As you notice, the C, you'll see the serial number, but it'll have the letter of the bank. Like this is C for Philadelphia, by the way. And I showed G, but that's where you can just look, do your own research. You can look on the notes. And remember, this is attached to the fractional reserve, that fiat-based system where they pull money, fractional reserve banking, where they pull funds out of thin air. Just like checks and money orders are drawn, in many cases, off of an account. Like, you know how you can get a money order based off your account, or a cashier's check? They're still drawn to the electronic system. So it's still, this is part of the central bank, centralized. By the way, it's important. I went over that information earlier. If you go back and watch this video, Money Master, someone posted in the chat, by the way. So to the next comment in the chat says, Victor Colin says they don't know when the doors are going to be knocked down by agencies. They're losing sleep these days. By the way, yes, I agree. Yep. We're winning. Believe it or not, it might seem like doom and gloom, because the cabal is retaliating in some instances, but there's a lot of awake people, more than you think, and it's important to network with them, warn others, warn your loved ones, your children, your aunties, your nieces, your nephews, your grandparents, your uncles, everyone that you can that's willing to hear. Mirrorits 06 says, I have some gold and a couple ounces of silver just for the right moment and still don't think it's enough. Yeah, I understand, definitely. That's not bad, always, have both in your portfolio. Mirror says, most of my savings is in my 401k. I don't want to diversify more. Okay, I understand, definitely. By the way, I've heard some other things from speaking to someone who's more knowledgeable than myself. By the way, I take notes from that mention some things that could potentially happen if you're invested in the stock market and 401k. There are some deeper aspects to it. Things get really bad in terms of, you guys heard of bank holiday or capital controls. By the way, the capital controls is like what I talked about earlier, where the banks will limit your withdrawal limit, like with ATM machines, daily limits and stuff. Deals with capital controls, like in countries where they've had financial collapses, Cyprus, other parts of the world. We're only able, instead of you have a withdrawal limit of 500 at an ATM, it may be reduced to 400 or as low as 200 or 100. Further, that's in terms of capital controls of bank holidays. If the bank shut down for several days because they don't have enough deposits on hand, even based off the fiat debt-based system. Okay, let's see. Secret Balance Thoughts Burn says, hey, Dorsey, I heard from a reliable source that the Bitcoin will not be certified until the lines go completely through the B. Okay. I'm not sure what you mean by that, but I know major corporations are invested in Bitcoin. People that are holding it are, lining themselves up for success in the future. Just put it that. Kudos to the subscribers that shared the story with me some years ago. I did look into it. Well, I say years ago, maybe months ago, maybe sometime last year. I don't remember exactly, about the Bitcoin time traveler. By the way, not trying to get esoteric on you, but I looked into the story and there were some projections, but major corporations are invested, into the main Bitcoin crypto itself. There's other cryptos that are successful as well, and that there's those that will be projected to go up in value tremendously, that will have tremendous earning potential. By the way, I won't get into that, as this video is not mainly about that. So I'm not sure what you mean that Bitcoin will not be certified until the lines go completely through the B. If you're meaning bank or whatever, but it is it's something to that's another good investment in diversifying your portfolio, is in cryptos as well. So with that being said, guys, I appreciate you for joining me. I'm your host, John Dorsey, at Dorsey's Resource. You can follow me on Facebook at Dorsey's Resource. I'm also on YouTube, obviously, at Dorsey's Resource. I'm on Minds.com at Dorsey's Resource. I'm also on Twitter at Dorsey's Resource, by the way. Appreciate you guys. I see the different messages on Twitter. I share a few posts from the different people I follow. I do have an Instagram account that's at Dorsey's Resource _2019. That's where my more relaxed side, I show the other side of me, my more liberal side. By the way, my Twitter handle is my side is more on the right, by the way, when it comes to politics, by the way. But I appreciate you guys for joining. Please do not forget to like this video, share, comment, and subscribe. Also subscribe to my backup channel. I should have posted the link recently, so whenever I put out new videos, new updates, you guys will get the notifications. You will be the first to be notified, especially when I go live for this channel, if you haven't subscribed. Until next time, I'm your host, once again, John Dorsey. I appreciate you guys for joining me Hope you guys have a wonderful, safe night wherever you're at. Have a blessed one. And the marathon continues. The marathon will continue. Real legends never die. Until next time, take care.